I hope that you have been benefiting from these episodes regarding the pop-up store and how to think of your future pop-up store project. In this episode, we're going to look at the subject that relates pop-up stores to communications and the importance of communicating your pop-up store. We have been looking at many pop-up stores lately, and we have noticed that pop-up stores are closely related to social media and social media communications. Pop-up stores are also close to the idea of guerrilla and guerrilla communications, as some might say that pop-up stores are types of guerrilla stores and they need to be communicated via guerrilla marketing communications. Today I'm going to concentrate on pop-up stores and the communications of these types of stores through social media and your social media strategy. Why do I insist on the term social media strategy? As soon as you have created your pop-up store's strategy, it has to be communicated because you have to make sure that you draw your customers in, you have to grasp your attention during, and you have to complete your communications after the pop-up store has been done. Therefore, you think of the before, the during, and the after. These are three main phases of your pop-up store's communication strategy, and these phases go hand in hand with the time of popping up and the time of ending your pop-up store. Let's go back to the idea of traditional communications. Any communication, whether traditional or new, has to think of the vehicles in which the message has to be sent or communicated. When looking at pop-up stores, and if we are concentrating on communicating our project through social media sites, we have to then decide on which social media platforms we are going to be communicating. I believe that every brand would already have had established a social media page on X or Y platform. Having said that, we believe that once you're developing your pop-up store's communication strategy, it has to respect your brand's identity, your brand's tone of voice, and your brand's style, your brand's culture, and your brand's personality. Please keep that in mind every time you're developing a communication strategy for this pop-up store and for the next one, as we have to find again a connecting line between this and that, and we have to find a connecting line between your project and your initial communications, your initial brand's communications. So yes, of course, we need to communicate our pop-up store, and our communication strategy has to be planned as soon as we start our pop-up store's concept development. We have to list all the media that we might be managing, and we have to make sure that we coordinate all types of communications through a clear schedule and a clear timeline. So again, I have to highlight the importance of communicating your pop-up store before, during, and after. And every phase has to have its objectives, its communications objectives. You have to make sure that people or customers or potential customers are curious enough to visit your pop-up store. This is during the before period. You have to make sure that customers will understand that this pop-up store is going to be very unique and very different, and therefore you have to make it worthwhile coming and sharing their experience in that store. You have to keep your customers informed and involved of all the activities that are happening during the pop-up store. The during is also very exciting, as you might have injected many items in your store that allow people to share their experience with the brand, with you, with their peers, and that allow the message to be communicated and maybe spread virally. This is very important. You have to create the opportunity for your brand to spread during the customer's visit to your pop-up store. Think of a hashtag, think of QR codes, think of any possible way for your customer to share information about your pop-up store. Did you inject a smart mirror or any type of photo booth? If yes, is the customer going to have the possibility of taking that picture and sharing it on any of its social sites? And are customers allowed to like, share, and tag other customers? Think of all of these things and make sure that you engage in these types of activities, as this will give you the important visibility of your store, and will make your customers talk more about your pop-up project. We are talking about this because we're going to highlight at all times the importance of the customer's proactivity and the exchange with you, with the brand, during the pop-up store's activity. So we have provided our customers with an opportunity to advocate for our brand. We hope that the customer will stay in touch after he has visited this pop-up store. So it's important also to continue communicating and thanking the customers, or maybe doing some kind of recap after the pop-up store is done, and maybe to announce other projects that the brand is willing to engage in the near future, or maybe later on. So I'm going to recap your communication strategy with relation to your pop-up store strategy. Think of the before, during, and after. Make sure you choose wisely the social media platforms on which you're going to communicate. Make sure that the communications is relevant and congruent with your brand identity, and that shouts out your brand's personality and that speaks directly to your target audience. With that, I leave you to go back to your notes and to add these important things to the list of to-dos whenever you're preparing for your future pop-up store project.